My accommodation was in walking distance to the Harvard University, to my office. So I spent most of my time within Cambridge, but that doesn't mean, of course, that I didn't move a bit along. As this was my first trip to the United States, so I tried to prepare myself in terms of a bit of history of New England, the beginnings of the War of Independence, the Minutemen, and so on and so on. So I was really very interesting about history places, but what really astonished me that New England is actually really meaning New England word by word. Places like this could be in East Anglia somewhere, or if we don't consider the American flag, this street, which is from Beacon Hill, center of Boston, could be somewhere in Liverpool. Actually, this cottage style is also very typical of the Cambridge, of the north side in Greater Boston. But of course, the ruling architectural style is still the wooden architecture. This was our home with my daughter together. We had our accommodation on the first floor and just above under the roof. I could stick on this photo for a couple of minutes because it's just to make an imagination view that I spent most of my time here. On the back of the photo, it is the Tozzer Library, which is the greatest library for archaeologists forever in the United States. That meant that I spent most of my time trying to read and digest more than 60 books and I think 130 several short papers and so on and so on. And in the evening, when I was very tired, I tried to use my electronic access to the library and download as much as I can. So I really tried to use each minute of my short 4-month stay in the US. I was rather focusing on theoretical archaeology. In terms of this was actually the field, the trajectory, what we lacked in Hungarian archaeological science the most, because mainly this was the field which was closed in the socialist time. We had no access to the new trends, to the new strands of it in terms of gender archaeology or landscape archaeology or the so-called isms, which is a very broad spectrum of theoretical archaeology. So I tried to improve my knowledge a bit in it, not only as a researcher, but also as a professor to give it further to my PhD students, and so take the occasion of widen the PhD doctoral school in Budapest and Szeged, where I'm involved in. The main building is the Peabody Museum, where the Department of Archaeology is located. I had a small office there. But interestingly enough, I had to face with the fact that in America, in the United States, archaeology is not belonging to the humanities. It is a social science. With all its consequences, physically, it meant that we were close together, not only with the anthropologists and geologists, but also the evolutionary biologists, which very many times gave us new insights, provoking discussions, very interesting things actually, that we were not together, we spent very much time together, we listened to each other's lectures and seminars and discussions, and this gave us new insight, at least for me who came from a very traditional field of European archaeology, to get new trajectories, new ideas, and perhaps give some old ideas which might be new for them. There was a series, so-called lunch talks, every Wednesday noon, which is taken word by word. As it has been mentioned, the audience is eating while the poor guy is giving his or her talk. I was one of this series, and as I told you that the wing consisted of very many departments, my announcement was signposted in very interesting places practically everywhere in the wing, which was sometimes a striking experience. But I was lucky to give my lecture with a very heated discussion, just partly to be saying that very broad anthropological and primate biological insights of the questions and the discussions. So I hope they enjoyed it to some extent to learn about not only Hungarian but Central European prehistory, but I enjoyed it as well. This is Harvard Yard, the famous Harvard Yard with the sculpture of John Harvard, who has, according to the gossips, not very much to do with the Harvard University, in fact. This is just to show you that this was center of our life. We co-lectured and participated in discussions in very many buildings, such as Semitic Museum and also other buildings of belonging to the Harvard University. And partly this was the way where I frequently went to have a long swim in the Harvard Athletic Center. By the time spring came, we got to know most places, and we got to familiarize with fellow professors, but also with postdocs and PhD students, and also partly graduate or even undergraduate students. And I enjoyed it very much that the hierarchy was not working that badly as it does in Central Europe, at least at this part. A trip to Wisconsin was thanks to a very nice invitation to the Madison University. I ended up in Milwaukee, as we just heard about. It was a striking experience for me how different this region from New England is, and how very much appreciated the Native American tradition in the whole state of Wisconsin is everywhere occurring. Just in this museum collection, where I had to face with the fact that the Native Indian history is not divided into several epochs or periods, just like here, prehistory, Roman history, or medieval period, but it was a unified process of development until the first Europeans came. So as an archaeologist, that was a very interesting experience to me, getting a bit out of history. I also had a lecture there, which was done in front of a very different audience, mainly German or Scandinavian origins of the students, and the whole sort of tradition of the Madison University was in this direction. But it was still a very good experience, not to speak of the fact that on the next day I had the occasion to make some trips in southern Wisconsin, which is full of Native Indian archaeological or historical monument. Just like this is the town of Astolan, which is at least 800 or perhaps even 100 years old, but even maybe 1,000 years old. And it shows that pyramids are not unknown in the northern part of the continent, just made of earthwork. Very interesting sandstone monuments cover prehistoric archaeological sites, such as we have one in the cave here. And Indian or Native American effigy mounds are very frequent in the whole region, which is a sort of earthwork made of Native Americans in very many shapes, very various shapes. Here we have it in an animal shape, which is a sacrificed place for them. And it is still a distinguished place nowadays for present modern Native American communities, appreciated from all the inhabitants of Wisconsin. The last picture is about the river Wisconsin, which goes down. The name Wisconsin is also a Native American name, such as Milwaukee or Chicago as well, which, as I learned, means smelly onion, I think. I think in a Menominee language, but I'm not sure. Going back to Cambridge, I took my daughter with me, who visited the Cambridge Region Latin School, state grammar school there. Made very good friends, as you see on the photo, within her class and in the broader school community. And I'm very proud to say that she, I'm sorry, she ended up an A-level student in a native speaker